Alrighty. Hello. And welcome everybody to another episode of the Full Send Half Mast podcast. Tonight, we're gonna be talking about this weekend's races at Talladega, the NASCAR playoffs series races there at old Talladega. And then also I'll be talking about the ARCA season finale as well at Toledo Speedway. And then we'll be previewing this weekend's races, which include Petit Le Mans, the championship round, the qualifier for the 24 hours of Le Mans this weekend for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. A tight battle there between the two Penske Porsche teammates, separated by 5 points going into this final race. It's gonna be super exciting. We'll preview that. I'll preview that here with you guys here tonight, as well as the cut races for the Xfinity Series and Cup Series at the Charlotte Roval. Maybe predictions of who I believe is going to win that race, as well as maybe some drivers that'll be eliminated in the playoff standings there as well. And then NASCAR Fantasy, like always, as well as my infamous driver and bonehead of the week segments. There's some pretty good nominees here this week. And then also, I'm going to announce the winner of the watch party poll for the month of October. I'm super excited to announce that here with you guys tonight. And it has something to do with the race this weekend that we had a great time with the watch party last year. So I'm excited for that as well. First off, though, um, I do want to start off with a little bit of talking point towards the 2311 front row motorsports alliance lawsuit against NASCAR. I know this is kind of maybe we're a little late to the party on this with everything that's happened over the week since the last week's podcast, but I do want to say that this comes at a very interesting time. Right at the end of the season, they don't sign their charter agreement, so then they're gonna have to use, I guess, least. I don't really understand the litigations or all of the red tape that's involved with it having to run charters that they own without signing a charter agreement. This lawsuit could take years and years with the amount of money that the France family has and NASCAR has. I just don't see this thing ever going to trial, to be honest with you guys. I know how rich Denny Hamlin, Michael Jordan are, and a lot of their sponsors and everything that are involved with that whole deal, but I really just do not see this going to trial at all. Uh, I, I, I think the teams, the whole charter system signing up for it to begin with, I feel like that was the whole downfall anyway. We're going to see this now with IndyCar. I've talked about that a lot here on recent podcast episodes, but I don't know what to think about this whole deal. Honestly, it sounds like there's going to be some weird tensions between NASCAR and these teams now, going through this front row with this third charter coming on board, buying one of the Stewart Haas charters, bringing Noah Gragson next year. They're gonna have three charters. 2311's got the two, so that's five of the charters that out of the 36 not being signed. Uh, what does that look like for the future of NASCAR going forward into 2025? I have no idea. I have no idea. This is gonna be interesting to sit back and watch this all play out. Uh, the lawyer seems like maybe a couple years down the line before this ever gets settled. I mean, we had the NIL thing and believe in college sports that took years to ever get settled there as well, and finally it did come to an agreement where now players are getting paid and have endorsement deals and all and et cetera, et cetera. We see something like that where this takes years and years down the line. Does front row in 2311 eventually have to race without a charter? Do they get them stripped away? I mean, what does this mean? It's going to be an interesting path over the next 12, 18 months, to figure out what is going to happen here. Will this ever go to court? Will they settle before they go to court? If I'm believing it, in my opinion, I don't think this ever will go to court, and I think a lot of it has to do with the amount of money that NASCAR has. I think that they're going to be able to settle this out of court. Maybe they'll come up with some type of affidavit or some uh, asterisks in the new charter agreement to work in 2311 front row. I have no idea where this is going to go, but extremely interesting time in NASCAR. I know we precursored maybe a year or so ago the split in NASCAR. Could this be the beginning of the split of NASCAR? I have no idea. This is out of left field, crazy announcement, and I guess we'll just have to all sit and waiting and see where this plays out from here. That's really all I had in the news thing. I just wanted to touch on that a little bit here to start this podcast. But next, I want to go over the races this weekend because by golly, did we have some interesting dramatics this weekend at Talladega. As always, you never know what's gonna happen at Talladega. Uh, I kind of wish we were there, honestly. I mean, Tom texted the group chat or whatever saying, "Man, we need to go to Talladega twice a year," and I kind of agree with that because I mean, I watching on TV, I kind of missed it. The in the truck race, the big one happened pretty much right in front of where we camp every year, and it kind of I was like, "Dang, man, we could have been there. We could have seen it right in front of us. Dang it!" But yeah. So we'll talk about the truck race first on Friday night. This was an awesome race. The Love's RV Stop 225 with Shaw Williams Sawalich on pole, his first career truck pole, I believe. Stage one, really good racing, mixing and matching. Grant Enfinger, it looked like he had one of the fastest trucks all day long. He really proved it in stage one, really controlled the front of the field. But Matt Mills made a surge right there at the end of stage one, ends up getting the stage one victory, his first ever stage win. That was a big moment for him. Looked like one of the faster trucks in the field. Those niche trucks were really quick, and they really showed the pace this weekend at Talladega in the draft. And then the first major incident came in the end of stage two with about a few laps to go in stage two. Connor Zilich behind Nick Sanchez. Nick Sanchez kind of leading that outside line. Big run from behind into Zilich, and then Zilich into Sanchez. Sanchez gets turned up in the wall, get a little bit of damage, playoff driver. And then Ben Rose, Chase Purdy get collected behind him as well. But it ends under yellow, and Grant Enfinger, like I said, was probably the best truck all day long. He ends up claiming stage number two. And then we had a caution with 23 to go involving Stephen Parsons into the back of Jake Garcia. Uh, Kind of after a pit cycle there towards the end of the race, the final pit sequence of the day. A lot of jockeying for position, different people blending in at different points of the racetrack through the pit sequences. Yeah, Stephen Parsons just got right into the back of Jake Garcia, set him down the track, ends up collecting Matt Mills, which was one of the better trucks all day. Lane Riggs, which was unfortunate because he was running up front. Tanner Gray, Connor Zilich finally got the TKO in this race as well at this point of the race. And also, big shout outs to Taylor Gray. Did a very good job getting through the grass there. Didn't get involved in a wreck. That would have been detrimental to his playoffs, and we'll talk about that towards the end. And then as well as I believe it might have been Corey Heim going through the grass down there as well. Tyler Ankrum getting some spinning, saving that race truck as well. So big time moments there for some playoff drivers. And that really kind of changed the end of this race because we saw like a lot of those faster trucks like Eckes, Enfinger, a lot of those guys cycle to the front through the pit sequence. And then we get another caution with 15 to go. Nick Sanchez battling up at the front of the field. He ends up getting turned off the front bumper of Christian Eckes. So Nick Sanchez had so many interesting moments in this race. I'm surprised he even got back to the front with the amount of damage he had after that first wreck at the end of stage two. I didn't think he was going to have anything left for him. He proved that he had a fast enough truck. He had a lot of showed a lot of experience and maturity in this race, being able to get to the front and being able to control those lines at the end. But yeah, he ends up getting turned right there off the front of Eckes. That kind of hampered the rest of his day there. Put him at the long end of the long line basically, and it was tough dredging from there. Then we get to the end of this race. We have a pretty good battle up at the front. Eckes and Finger up there, like I mentioned, two of the fastest trucks all day long. Battle for this race win. Big runs at the end. Taylor Gray, Lawless Allen, they both made some moves. Taylor Gray went to the outside. Grant Enfinger stayed to the bottom, coming to the trial. Ends up getting the win. Oh, man. Tom's championship pick, Grant Enfinger. What a race. I mean, honestly, Enfinger put on an absolute display. Dominant performance in this race. Was up front all day long. Like we said in the podcast last week, we said Enfinger was going to win this race. We both predicted it. He did. We also said that he was going to control this race from the front of the field all day long, use his experience. He's a really good plate racer, and that's exactly what he did. He took it to those boys, man. They definitely were the best truck. He was the best driver, absolute masterclass. And now, awesome part about it, he locks himself into the championship four. He's going to be racing for a championship in Phoenix in a few weeks, and this is awesome. I'm excited. Can he get some redemption? Are those CR7 machines as fast? I don't know, but they're going to have a few weeks to get that Phoenix truck up and running and ready to go. Give it hell when they go to Phoenix. I believe they only have Homestead left, and then it's Phoenix. So they had two more races left in the Truck Series playoffs. So, yeah, big time moves there out of Grant and Finger. Taylor Gray, who I mentioned was involved in that wreck with 23 to go, avoided a lot of the damage, kept the truck clean enough. He was there at the end. He finished P2. Great run for him. That's going to help him get to the next round or get to that fight for that championship four position. Big stuff for him there as well. And then also shout out to Lawless Allen. I'm going to nominate him as the driver of the week this week. Was in contention at the end of this race. Kept the truck clean all day long. By the end of the race, he was right there at the top five, and then he made a move. Nobody really went with him there at the end of the race and kind of came home P5. I think if he had gotten in front of that 17, maybe he would have had a chance to win that race. I think he said that in his post race interview, and I kind of agree with it. But I think Ed Finger was just undeniable this race. Ed Finger put on an absolute masterclass display and got the job done. What a great job. I'm excited for Ed Finger, excited for that team. I'm excited to see Phoenix and see if he can get the job done, get redemption. He had the championship won last year until the Josefar Heim incident. Can he get some redemption now that he's back? They've got time to prepare. I'm excited to see it. Grant Finger, 39 years old, and running out of time. He's gonna get this championship. This has got to be the year, and here he is in the championship four. Super excited for him. All right, and then let's talk about Saturday's ARCA series finale. Perez ends up winning the championship just by starting the race, so congratulations to him on winning the championship. He was out here basically trying to get a win, walk-off win, the championship and the race win at the same time, which is kind of cool. Swalich did qualify on pole. He was the guy to beat, going for his ninth win of the season to cap off this awesome ARCA season. Christian Rose, Amber Balkan had an incident on early in this race. Uh, Typical ARCA stuff there. They made a caution with 60 laps to go where Gio Ruggiero got into Amber Balkan, turning her around. So she had several incidents in this race. And then we get to the end of this race, and it's a battle between Rio Ruggiero. We had Andres Perez up there, William Swalich, pretty much all three battling for the lead on these late race restarts. Lots of ARCA crashes, typical ARCA races where you get like 5-lap runs, for a caution. Typical ARCA race. But yeah, they were battling up front, battling for the lead. Then we got a late race restart with about 19 to go. Perez gets a pretty good restart on the inside of Swalich and Ruggiero. He ends up taking it to the inside 3 wide. It just didn't work out for him. He ends up spinning, going to the back of the field, ends up eliminating him from a chance to win this race. And William Swalich eventually would go on to win this race, pull a pretty decent gap there at the end, and claiming his 9th ARCA victory of the season. Absolutely amazing season there by William Swalich. Interesting to see where he goes from here. Whether he goes up to Xfinity truck next year, I don't know. He's been making a lot of starts into truck series. Maybe he's got an in there with Tricon for next year. But what an amazing season there by William Swalich. It reminds me of Jesse Love last year, where he ended up winning like 10 races last year. William Swalich wins 9 this year. Unbelievable season in ARCA. Great way to end the season. I'm excited for next year. We'll see who the next guy is to take that next step and kind of become that next ARCA series champion. Will it be who will it be? I don't even know. I don't even know. We're going to find that out. Same with Indy NXT. We talked about that on the podcast a few weeks ago when we talked about the finale for Indy NXT. They had a great season as well. Who's going to be the next guy there to take that reins? Who's going to be the next great ARCA driver? We're going to find that all out next season with the new up-and-comers in the series, putting on some great races. And I'm excited to see ARCA back at Daytona here in a few months' time. It's going to be fun. All right, let's talk about the Xfinity Series race. Jesse Love qualified on pole early on in this race. It looked a lot like the Cup race, which we'll talk about later. A lot of jockeying for position. Chandler Smith ends up going on to win stage number 1. And then our first major incident happened on lap 42. We had a little bit of a stack up at the front. I believe it's Custer that got shucked out of line. And then you saw a lot of people checking up, like Creed back there as well. It eventually led to the back of the pack where we end up having Jeb Burton, Josh Williams, and Lights all getting collected in that as well. And also Parker Kligerman. He ended up having a little bit of damage from this. He did recover and get back into the mix there by the end of this, but that was some noteworthy stuff there for a playoff contender. Also, the end of stage 2, Austin Hill ends up winning, so showing that he had one of the better cars in this race, which I agree with. He's always a threat to win any time the Xfinity Series or Truck Series are at Daytona or Talladega. He's one of the best place racers in the series. We had a big one with 20 to go with Dean Thompson, SVG, Austin Hill, Taylor Gray, a bunch of contenders taken out here with 20 to go, the big one of the race. SVG got shucked out of line, and then I can't remember exactly who it was that made contact. Was it Dean Thompson made contact with, or got contact from behind, goes down the track, collects SVG, also collects Austin Hill, Taylor Gray, a bunch of the playoff guys get involved. I think, honestly, that's going to put SVG in an interesting position going in the Roval this weekend. I believe he's 7 points down in the playoff cut line. We'll talk about that later when it gets to the Roval. We'll talk about the playoffs there in the Xfinity Series more in depth. But that really changed this race. And then we had another big wreck with 4 to go when with Brandon Jones getting turned into Quapple, running up in the front. Parker Kligerman got involved, Anthony Alfredo, Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier, which is, we'll talk about Allgaier as well. He's in a very peculiar spot here in the playoffs as well after this wreck. We're at a terrible round here for Allgaier. Really, it started at Bristol. Started all at Bristol, and then he takes it to Kansas, has a bad run, has another bad run here at Talladega, falling apart. I mean, he had the regular season championship pretty much locked up going into Bristol, and he's completely fallen off a cliff. We'll talk about his chances this weekend at the Roval as well later in the podcast. But Sammy Smith ends up getting the win. Came in basically dead last in the points, in a pretty much a must-win situation, in my opinion, coming in. Did not see this coming. Had a rough go at it at Kansas, or involved in an early wreck. Ended up destroying his rear spoiler and really had nothing for him all day long. Comes into Talladega dead last in points. Has nothing to do but to win this race. Did a fantastic job at the end, controlling the lines, controlling the runs coming from behind. Was able to get across the checker flag first and secure his spot into the next round, the round of 8 of the playoffs. I think this is huge. And it's absolutely huge because I don't think he's a driver. He goes to Roval and was able to get himself out of the deficit there. He was definitely in a must-win situation here at Talladega, and he clutched it. He clutched it. Can he be a championship contender now? I don't know. We'll find out. I still think Custer has got to be your odds-on favorite so far through the season. I think Creed, solid contender. I think he's going to be there as well, battling for the championship. And then other than that, I mean, I would have said Allgaier 3 weeks ago, but I don't know about Allgaier anymore. SVG, I think he could still make it, especially with the Roval coming up this weekend. If he could get enough state or get some stage wins, get another stage or another race win, build some more playoff gap, I think he has an opportunity to get himself to Phoenix as well. I think Chandler Smith is definitely a favorite to get there as well. It's interesting stuff. We're gonna have to see what Allmendinger, SVG, that Allgaier little combo can do going into the Roval. Riley Herbst looking like he's in a pretty good spot. We'll talk about that here before too long. We'll talk about the playoff cut line there in the Xfinity series. I'll make sure I get that all pulled up and ready to go for you guys as well. So when we do talk about that, I'll give you my predictions on who I think advances out of this round for the Xfinity series. All right. Let's talk about the Cup race. The Yellowwood 500 on Sunday. Michael McDowell claims the pole is 6th pole of the year. Absolutely been turning up there, getting poles this season. Daniel Suarez, lap 2 had a pass-through penalty. Had to come down pit road. Was going to lose a lap regardless of making a pass-through penalty by himself under green. The field closed up on him on around lap 12. He's trying to play a little blocker, trying to blend back into the draft, which I think was a little aggressive, in my opinion. Considering that at the end of the stage, we're going to have a free pass anyway. I don't think anybody else is going to lose the draft or lose the lead lap at that point of the race. So, I mean, you're not going to get stage points, but you're in a must-win situation anyway. Take care of your race car, in my opinion. Ends up making a squeeze job on BJ McLeod. Ends up getting into the wall and ended basically his day. He went 2 laps down after that. Absolute boneheaded move. Lack of awareness. Lack of track position. Lack of understanding what part of the race we're in. Just absolutely boneheaded move. Fell apart. His playoffs, I believe, are done. We'll talk about that again. Like I said, I'll talk about the Xfinity playoffs, who I think is going to advance and not advance. Then we'll talk about the Xfinity or the Cup Series playoffs as well here in a little bit. So, big time failure there by Daniel Suarez. Chris Buescher ends up winning stage 1. Great racing in stage 1. We had 4 wide racing. I know there was a lot of fuel save. We kind of predicted that anyway. Tom said this is going to be a very chaotic, crazy race. I kind of said it was going to be a calm, mellow race. For the first basically 2.5 stages, it was pretty much a pretty clean race. Pretty straightforward, a lot of fuel saving, trying to work your way through lap traffic. A lot of green flag pit stops, which I enjoyed. I like seeing green flag pit stops on super speedways. That's why another thing that goes with getting rid of stage racing at these super speedways, because we could have these pit sequences throughout the race, thin the field down, not have as many big crashes. Be like a lot like the older super speedway races where the field would spread out and contenders would drop off, and we'd have different packs forming throughout the racetrack. And by the end of the race, you'd have basically your best executed teams on pit road. Fastest cars would also pretty much cycle up to the main draft by the end of the race, and that'd be your battle for the win. I wish we saw more of that. We did see that kind of to an extent through the pit sequences. You saw some guys be able to execute better on pit road. Maybe they saved a little bit more fuel during the run, which I still hate the fuel saving aspect of these super speedway races. But you would see different cars cycle through the field up to the front to the back, through these stages, which was interesting with this pit sequences. Truex on the stage 2 pit sequence ended up spinning on pit road. That kind of ruined the rest of his day. Was really never a contender after that. I believe he did go a lap or two down in that sequence, losing the main draft. And then also, I guess the main controversy is at the very end of stage number 2. We saw that outside line was pretty competitive. We saw it, Blaney and Cindric working together well. Cedric, I believe, got to the bottom line, tried to win the stage. Blaney did not. He ended up losing the momentum because Busch and Chastain to the outside of him went to the outside of him, just completely stalled out Blaney's car. Another product of this crappy car. And then behind Blaney had a massive run behind him from Bowman, the notable person here in this instance, with Lars and a few others behind him also having a massive run, pushing Bowman. Blaney's stalled out car. Bowman and Larson did not choose to go to the outside with Busch and Chastain. They decided to stay in line, get those stage points, which are crucial in this point of the playoffs. And Bowman just got into Blaney in the trial, turn him around, sent Blaney into the outside wall, into Chastain, ended his day. Blaney did not have some very nice words about Bowman, saying that was uncalled for. Got plowed over, just got completely wrecked by the 48. I know me and Tom disagree on this because I see this as kind of a racing incident in my own idea. Maybe I'm too much of a homer. I don't know. Call me what you want. But yes, Bowman did wreck Blaney. I put blame on Bowman. 100%. I put some blame on Bowman. But I also put blame on the car. The car has a lot to do with it. The fact that he just stalled out. I put blame on uh the style of racing that we have. I mean, and the fact that when you get these runs, the cars stall out, you just run right in the back of them. I mean, if let's let's just put this in the same scenario. Let's say Bowman completely just hits the brakes here, which he did lift and he did hit Blaney square, just in a bad spot. It is what it is. Let's say Bowman lifts there. He ends up getting turned around by Larson behind him, or even another car behind Larson gets into him, and then we have a big, massive wreck. I mean, if you're in this point of the playoffs racing for stage points, which again, another product of why this incident happened, the stupid stage racing with the stage points. If you're in a Bowman situation, you're going for the stage points. You got to. I mean, if you don't, I mean, every point matters. We've seen it every time in the playoffs. We see one guy get eliminated by a point here, a point there. All these little things that happen. You gotta just kind of go for those stage points. I mean, if he would have finished where he was at, he would have got one stage point because he would probably been P10. He ends up getting 5 out of it, so it's a net gain for him. Sucks for Blaney. It really does. It's unfortunate for Blaney that the guys behind him bailed on him and he ended up stalling out. I mean, in any other scenario, if we had a better car, that wouldn't have happened. So, I mean, you put blame on the car, you put blame on the format. I guess in sakes of community reaction, a lot of people blaming Bowman. I'm gonna obviously nominate him for Bonehead of the Week. I don't put a ton of blame on him. If I'm in Bowman's situation, I think most drivers in that situation would have done the same thing. It's either wreck or get wrecked, and I don't think he intended to wreck Blaney. He hit him dead square. He let off the gas. He lifted. I mean, he did everything he possibly could have. I mean, what else could he have done? Maybe go to the outside with Chastain and Busch. That, in hindsight, probably that's what he probably should have done. But who knows if he would have got stalled out and then got ran over again too. So, I mean, it's a tough scenario. I hate it for Blaney. It really stinks. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? That's just the product of this racing. At the end of that stage, though, that would end up going to Cindric. End up winning the stage. Definitely had one of the better cars. He was racing for the win late, which we'll talk about. In the final stage of the race, again, more green flag pit stops. Everything cycled through. I believe Denny Hamlin lost the draft in this. Ty Gibbs. A lot of the Toyotas did not execute on that final pit sequence very well. Also, uh, Todd Gillen. Excuse me. That's where I was going with it. He ended up getting a penalty as well. A speeding penalty. Had to come back through pit road. Ended up losing the draft. The field racing 2x2, really not a lot of runs, or the third line not really working. It was basically a 2x2 lock instead type race. We saw Brad Keselowski pushing Cindric on the inside line. We had Ricky Stenhouse up on the outside line. And they're going through the lap traffic, trying to navigate through Todd Gilliland late in this race. He didn't really do anything too egregious, did Gilliland. Just kind of held his line on the bottom, let the field go by. Really nothing to race for at that point. And then the accordion effect, everything kind of just gets checked up, stacked up there. And yeah, Brad Keselowski, massive run from behind, lots of cars pushing him, gets into the back of Cindric. Cindric goes around and sets off a chain reaction of a 28 car wreck at Talladega, the largest one we've ever seen in the Cup Series of Talladega. Absolutely unbelievable. Cars just absolutely destroyed. Walmart parking lot in turn 3. Shout out to Daniel Hemrick's brakes or gas pedal or whatever you want to call it. Holy cow, was that the most comical thing I've ever seen? He didn't even lift. He kept the foot on the throttle, man. And he just sent it up on the outside, just TKOs Cindric, TKOs the wall. I mean, that was the most comical thing I have ever seen. Obviously, that's going to be a nominee for Bonehead of the Week. I mean, that was just stupid. I mean, goodness gracious, Daniel Hemrick, what were you doing, man? That, if you guys get a chance, go throw it back and rewatch that wreck and just try to spot Daniel Hemrick and just watch it over and over again. I'm telling you, you are going to laugh in absolute tears. I mean, it was the funniest damn thing I have seen at a plate race in a long time. I mean, unbelievable. This took out tons and tons and tons of playoff contenders, including Reddick, who was involved, Chase Elliott, Chase Briscoe, obviously Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Alex Bowman was involved. Trying to think, there was plenty more involved in this one. I mean, Suarez, which his race was already done anyway, I believe he was also involved. I mean, it'd be easier to name the people that weren't involved in this wreck. I mean, Byron, Bell, and Larson, I believe, were the 3 guys that cleanly made it through there. Denny Hamlin, before that wreck, I was looking at the thing. It was 17 points below the cut line before that wreck. He had lost the main draft. It looked like an absolute destructive day for him. He kind of got saved here because he wasn't in the pack, didn't get involved in the wreck, was able to get back into the contention with the field. He had damage, obviously, from that wreck that we saw with Blaney and Chastain, and the poor execution on pit road. But yeah, he ends up getting back in contention, ends up getting a solid top 10 finish out of it, which is surprising. But yeah, this is gonna completely hamper Cindric, gonna completely hamper Logano. Briscoe, I believe he's done. Suarez, he's done. I mean, it's crazy what we're gonna see this weekend at the Roval with all these must-win guys. Talladega definitely did not disappoint in the playoff drama here this weekend. A lot of people blaming Brad Keselowski in this incident. I think I'm going to go with the same sentiment that I did with the Blaney Bowman incident. I think this is just a product of this type of racing, this type of car. What else is Brad Keselowski going to do? At the end of the race, there are 5 to go. You're not going to lift. And he just went through Cindric. I mean, it just sucks. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. This is another typical incident we've seen at these plate races. And it took out 28 cars. I mean, the controversy that comes from this, though, is all of the DVP incidents, with all these cars being destroyed on the inside. No inner liners or tires. Joey Logano said that in his post-race interview. No inner liners in these damn tires. And we've been saying this on this channel forever. A lot of these problems will be fixed if you had an inner liner where these guys could actually drive these cars back to pit road, but they can't. You had Chase Briscoe's crew telling him not to put the window net down to end his race. I mean, then they're pushing, towing cars to back pit road. You got cars doing burnouts and sliding around on the infield trying to get their cars back. I mean, this is an absolute clown show. I mean, they red flag. Right when the red happened, I said, just instantly red flag this race. Let's get all the cars pushed to pit road. Then we'll go back to yellow. Took it forever to red flag the race. Then they red flag it for 10 minutes. Then they bring the yellow back out. Then they start towing car. I mean, then they're pushing Chase Elliott's car. Looks destroyed. They're towing Briscoe's car. I mean, what is happening? This is a playoff race. Playoff implications. Teams, every point matters. Trying to finish this race. Cars are stuck on the infield. Can't do nothing. We got another incredible soundbite with Joey Logano screaming and yelling, saying, "Hey, like they've got this system where they can jack the car up off the ground, off the blocks, off the stop blocks on the bottom of the car." He's yelling at him. They're telling him he's leaking fluid. They can't do it, and it was another awesome comical soundbite there with Joey Logano. Absolutely comical. I mean, the whole wreck was just comical in itself. The whole thing was just absolutely freaking hilarious. I mean, ARCA brakes from behind. I think Busher was one of the guys with ARCA brakes. He drove through the field too. I mean, Hemrick. I mean, absolutely comical event that happened in this race. And then all the theatrics with fans getting mad that we got special treatment for Elliott getting pushed. I kind of agree. He got pushed. Nobody else was getting pushed. I mean, you got to protect the golden boy. Briscoe, that whole drama with his crew chief trying to get that thing. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, there's got to be a better way. I mean, there is. We need a new car. We need interliners in these tires. We're gonna keep this car. We need to get rid of fuel save. We need to get rid of stage. I mean, there's just so many things. They destroyed race cars. Why not just let these guys fix the race cars and keep racing? I mean, this has been a problem since the beginning of the DVP. I've always hated it. Uh, I mean, what else is there to do? I mean, we could keep beating our heads against the wall here, but at the end of the day, NASCAR's never going to change. It's these casual fans that came in and like this style of product that we have on track have changed everything for NASCAR forever. It's just the whole thing is just a shenanigan show. Um, and there's nothing else you could say about it. It's just an absolute comical Walmart parking lot in turn three with all the different drama, people complaining, cars not being able to move, cars doing burnouts, trying to move, getting towed back, not dropping window nets, like just all this who's in, who's out. I mean, it was an absolute just joke and pathetic display, not only by the track officials and what happened down there, but by NASCAR and NASCAR's rule book. I mean, it's just an absolute shenanigan show. And then we end up getting a restart, overtime finish. Ricky Stenhouse basically for Brad Keselowski because the way that these cars work, there was no way to get a third lane formed. KFB made a move on the white flag lap trying to get to the outside. He was running, I believe, fifth or sixth at the time, of his third row up on the outside. He goes to the outside. Eric Jones doesn't go with him. Nobody went with him. SVG tried to go to the outside. No, he was too far back in the field. Nobody went with him. Uh, and a lot of it was because those playoff guys that had damage, not really wanting to make any aggressive moves or anything to lose more positions than they already did. Um, and you can't blame them. It's the format we're in. You just got to keep your position. The only thing that baffles me is Eric Jones not making the move. I mean, if I'm Eric Jones, this is my chance to win the race, right? I would think in that scenario, a fifth place finish or going for the win or finishing 20th isn't going to make that much of a difference this point of the season. You're not in the playoff. You're not really like kind of not racing for anything. I just don't understand why he didn't go with Kyle Busch there. Try to make something work on that outside line, make it interesting. Never did. Lost a lot of respect for Eric Jones after that incident there. I would have really liked to see Kyle Busch have something there at the end, to battle for the win, but wasn't able to. The battle at the end though became Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Brad Keselowski. Battle to the line, 6/1000ths of a second. Margin of victory. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gets his fourth career win. All four of them at super speedways, two at Daytona, two at Talladega. I mean, unbelievable. This guy's a absolute plate wrecker. I thought of it right after he won that race. I was like, this is the modern day Michael Waltrip. There's nothing anywhere else. When he goes to super speedway, he's always a threat. So, I guess congratulations to Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Congratulations to that team getting a win this year. I believe that's our 16th or 17th different winner this year. My math's correct. We had 15 in the regular season, plus two new ones in the playoffs with Busher and Stenhouse. So, yeah, interesting. 17 winners this season. Crazy. The NASCAR parody. That's what they wanted. That's what they wanted. We want a parody. Well, you got your parody here this weekend with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. winning this race. Chase Elliott having comments after the race as well, saying, I made minimum speed, multiple laps down, but cars that without the green light checker scenario didn't maintain minimum speed, but it takes 3 laps to get to minimum speed. So how did they get to finish ahead of us when they couldn't even hit minimum speed at the end of that race? But we did, being multiple laps down. Why didn't we finish ahead of them? Well, to you, sir, I say stay mad because that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's the rule books you have to play by. Nothing's ever fair in NASCAR, and if you think it is fair or want it to be fair, I mean, it's not going to be. And plus, you can't really have any room to speak because you were the one that got pushed back to pit road when other guys were being forced out of their cars and towed. So, I mean, you did get saved in that aspect, being able to get spots that you probably shouldn't have had anyway. So, live with it. That's what I say. Josh Berry having a complete come apart as well with the media. Same with Joey Logano, like I said, with the interliners. Joey Logano comment. I love it. I want more of that action out of Joey Logano. He said it was the least fun he's ever had in a race. I mean, I agree. I mean, the race wasn't super entertaining. I mean, it was a typical plate racing we've seen in the Gen 6 era. I vote next year we go back to two-car tandeming. That's just my opinion and get a new car. go back to the Xfinity car. That'd be mint, but we can't always have what we want. Josh Berry's saying, "Yeah, this is just an absolute joke. Got the 42 car doing some freaking burnouts and down here trying to keep it rolling, and I'm getting towed out of, or I'm getting pulled out of my vehicle. All this crap. I mean, it was a shenanigan show. Absolute garbage product. I can't believe anybody would be proud of that, especially out of NASCAR. I mean, sure, they got their close finish and they got their big media moments with the big wreck, but everything surrounding that was just an absolute joke in this race, and a lot of it has to do with the damn package. I mean, it is. It's the car's terrible. Um, I mean, it is. It is what it is. Um, I don't know. That's all I gotta say. It's just whatever. It's super speedway racing. I can't wait to go to Talladega next year and have fun, hang out, do my thing. The race is kind of extra. It's more about the experience and the party. So I'm excited for that next year. But as for the race, uh, yeah, and it's gonna be in the round 8 next year. I don't know how I feel about that. I've heard mixed opinions on it. Some people are like, "Oh, it's gonna be in more now because instead of having some flukish guy get into the round of 4, it's gonna be one of those best 8 that made it to the round of 8." I could see that opinion. And then the other opinion's like, "Well, now we got more shenanigans because now it's in the round of 8 where some random guy could win." I mean, I don't know. It's just how do you look at it? Half glass, half full, or glass half empty? I don't know. How do you look at it? I'm just gonna let it ride and wave and figure out what happens from there because it's really all we can do. I mean, what are we gonna do? As much as we could sit here and talk about it and make our opinions and cry and whine about it, nothing's ever gonna change. Nothing's ever gonna change. Alabama Bama man down bad this weekend. So I don't know what else to say. Uh, yeah, that's the recap for the races this weekend. We'll talk about the points here in a minute, but I do want to go over our driver and boneheads of the week. So drivers of the week, I'm gonna nominate Lawless Allen, P5 in the truck race, who really impressed me this weekend. Had a chance at the end to win that race. I think he could have won that race if he'd got in front of Taylor Gray there at the end and been pushed to the line, but did not end up finishing P5. Also going to nominate David Starr, P8 in the Xfinity Series race, survived all the carnage all day long in an underfunded car. Ends up with a P8. Great job by him. And then also I'm going to nominate Justin Haley, P7 in the Cup Series race, survived all the carnage, and ends up with a P7 run. So good job for him. Uh, and he also ran up front all day long too. In that first stage, he was one of those guys up in that front, leading that charge there up on the outside. So good job by that team this weekend. Definitely a better driver in that number 7 machine, I believe. Well, it's not even I believe. I mean, it's a guarantee. So we'll see what they can do as the season progresses, and then on to into next year. Boneheads of the week. We got Daniel Suarez, lack of awareness in the Cup Series race. I mean, uh, making an issue worse and then basically eliminating yourself in the playoffs. Stupidly. I mean, that was just dumb. I mean, I understand you're in a pressure cooker situation where everything matters, but like that was just not an uncalled for time and place to do that move. So I'll nominate him. I'll also nominate Alex Bowman for wrecking Ryan Blaney. I kind of disagree with this one, but I'm gonna put it on there anyway because I see a lot of people's points. I do believe Alex Bowman did run. Oh well, he did run to the back of Ryan Blaney. I mean, there's just no other way around it. Could have been avoided. Maybe could it not have been avoided? Was it necessary? Maybe. I mean, it's debatable, but I'm gonna nominate him as well. And then Daniel Hemrick for the Arca Break Master Moment of the Week. I mean, absolute comedy. Really put this race on the 10 out of 10 scale for me watching that. I was laughing so freaking hard watching him rant, just bulldozed right up against the wall ride and then into Cindric. I mean, that was freaking hilarious. That guy never even lifted. Absolute nominee for me. All right. Um, let's do this. We'll go before we preview this weekend's races. I do want to go over the point standings going into the Roval, so we are caught up here. So let's pull it up here on the handy dandy NASCAR.com playoff standings for the Xfinity Series. We'll start there first. Going into the Charlotte Roval cutoff race for the Xfinity Series round of 12. So obviously Sammy Smith's locked in. Chandler Smith looks like he'll be pretty good on points. He's 64 up. I believe that's enough to be locked. It is enough to be locked. So Chandler's locked. Custer, Hill, Creed, they're all 32, 37. I think they're all good. Jesse Love, 22. I believe he's not safe. I don't think Riley Herbst is either at plus 20. And then we have Allmendinger on the cut line plus 7. Then we got Justin Allgaier minus 7, SVG minus 10. Sam Mayer minus 13, Parker Kligerman minus 16. I think all those guys could get in. I mean, at 16 down, I don't think that's too far out, and I think 22 up, I don't think that's too far ahead. Who do I think's gonna get eliminated? I think it's gonna be Parker Kligerman. Unfortunately, uh, unless he just has an absolutely amazing race and wins, which he can do it. We've seen it in the past with Parker Kligerman on road courses. He's an exceptional driver. Can he advance? I don't think so. Where it gets interesting for me though is Sam Mayer. He won this race last year, I believe, and advanced himself into the next round. Can he do it again? I don't think so. I think Sam Mayer's done as well. So that's 2 eliminations. Next, SVG -10. I think he could do that in points, honestly. I don't think that's even that bad on points. I think SVG can legitimately get in on points. So I'm going to say he advances, honestly. And that kind of maybe a preview. Or I'm not going to say he is advancing. I think he can advance. Allgaier -7. I think it's over. I think it's an RIP here for Allgaier. I think he's Dunskies. I don't think that guy's going to advance. Really, I think the battle's between AJ and SVG, which AJ owns the Roval. SVG, I think he can win this race as well. I think the battle's between those 2 colleague teammates, man. Honestly, I think that's where it's at. Unless Jesse Love or Riley Herbst have issues, which could happen. And if that happens, I think SVG and Allmendinger get in. Maybe Jesse Love has issues and he's done. Maybe Herbst has issues, he's done. But I think for surely Allgaier, Mayer, and Parker Kligerman are definitely out this round. I think the battle is going to be between SVG, Allmendinger, and then whether or not Jesse Love, Riley Herbst, maybe a Sheldon Creed at 32 up. Maybe he has issues. I don't know. It'd have to be early in that race. I don't see it. But I think it's whether Jesse Love, Riley Herbst have issues, and then AJ Allmendinger versus SVG for that final spot. That's kind of what I'm thinking there for the Xfinity Series playoffs. All right. When it comes to the Cup Series cut line in the playoffs, we'll look at the standings. We obviously know Byron's locked in. I think Bell's lock. Larson 52 up. I think he's locked. Hamlin 30, unless he has an absolutely terrible day. I think he's going to be all right. Bowman, Blaney 25, 26 respectively. Same thing, I think, unless they have bad days. But I think Blaney and Bowman, they're both really good at the Roval. I don't think they're going to have any issues. Reddick 14 up. I think he's going to survive this round by the skin of his teeth. I mean, going into Dega, I did not like his chances, but after Dega with the big wreck that happened at the end there, even with him being involved, he still managed to leave here 14 up, going into a place that I think he has a potential to win. I think he'll be fine as well. Now it's Elliott Logano separated by 13 points on the cut line. Elliott's been good at the Roval before; he's won. Logano was my championship 4 pick. I mean, I just don't see him being eliminated this round, so I think it's between those 2. Then I think Suarez is done. I wouldn't even give him a second thought. When it comes to Cindric and Briscoe, though, I think both these guys have a legitimate chance where they could win this race. They've been really good at the Roval in the past. Out of the 2, though, I would put Briscoe ahead of Cindric just for the fact that I think that 14 team, I think they've got a lot more fight in them than the 2 Cindric. Although the Penske's have shown a lot of speed, I still think Cindric and that team, or Briscoe and that team is going to put up a better fight. Let's say, granted, we do not see a new winner outside of that cut line. I believe between Elliott and Logano, I'm going to say Logano is going to get in over Elliott. I really think so. If Logano could qualify well, stay up front, let's say Elliott scores 8 stage points. Let's say if Logano could double that and score 16. I mean, that's hard. Even if Elliott scores 4 and Logano could score like 12. Going in that final stage, that's only 4 or 5 spots to separate the 2. And I think that is something that you could definitely overcome. I'm going to say Logano over Elliott if it comes to points. If it doesn't come to points and we do, so let's say Briscoe wins this race, then it becomes a Reddick, Elliott, Logano battle. You could see Reddick on his way out. I mean, you could see Reddick and Logano on their way out here as well. I mean, there's so many different scenarios that could play out. If I was to eliminate people, I'd say Suarez, Cindric, Briscoe. I don't think he wins, so minus the win. I think Reddick will be fine. I think Elliott will be out. I think Logano is going to get in to the round 8. That's just going off a bold prediction, bold thoughts there. But that's kind of what I'm looking at playoff-wise. Alrighty. Let's preview the races this weekend. This weekend, we got the Xfinity Cup Series, like I mentioned, the Charlotte Roval NASCAR playoff cutoff race for the round of 12 for both those series, as well as the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, as well as the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series racing at Road America for the Petit Le Mans race weekend. Notable entries for this weekend. In the Xfinity Series, we got Sage Karam behind the wheel of the number 07 SS Greenlight machine. Excited for that. Josh Bilicki behind the number 19 JGR Toyota. Eric Almirola behind the 20 JGR Toyota. Ed Jones, back with Sam Hunt Racing in the number 26. Austin Green, number 32, Jordan Anderson Racing Machine. And then Connor Mosack with Junior Motorsports this weekend in number 88. In the Cup Series, SVG in the number 13 Colleague Machine with Kaz Gralla in the 15 Rick Ware Racing Machine, AJ Allmendinger in the 16 Colleague Machine, and Josh Bilicki making double duty in the number 66 MBM Racing 66. In the IMSA Weather Car Sports Car Championship, in the GTP series, we got Scott Dixon behind the wheel, the 01 Cadillac with Vander Sander and Sebastian Bourdais. We also have Estre in the number 6 Porsche trying to close out that championship. We'll talk about that. Dane Cameron also be behind the number wheel of the number 7 Penske Porsche. So that's your championship battle. We'll separate it by 5 points. I'll give you my prediction on who wins the championship and the race here in a minute. But it's cool that they're bringing in some heavy hitters from the World Endurance Championship team to come to Petit Le Mans this weekend. Brendan Hartley in the number 10 Acura. I'm excited to see how well he can do with Acura this weekend. Tom Blomqvist, the number 31 Action Express Machine. I'm excited to see him back behind the wheel. This team won the championship last year. They're out of contention this year, but maybe they can get an Action Express victory here to cap out the season. Colton Herta in the number 40 Acura this weekend. I'm excited to see what he could do. Paired up there with Delatraz and Jordan Taylor. Excited to see that combo. And then Romain Grosjean, number 63 Lamborghini. My bold prediction in the offseason, the Lamborghini was going to win an IMSA race this year. This is the last chance. So we'll see how that plays out. And LMP2, Hunter McElroy behind the wheel of the number 11 TDS machine, LMP2 this weekend. I'm super excited for that. As well as Connor Zilic back behind the wheel of the number 18 Era Motorsports Racing LMP2 machine. In the GTD Pro class, we got Earl Bamber with the number 4 Corvette. Excited to see what he could do behind the wheel of that number 4 machine this weekend. James Hinchcliffe in the number 9 McLaren. Kyle Kirkwood back with Vassar Sullivan in the number 14, as well as Alessandro Pierre Guidi in the number 62 Ferrari GTD Pro machine. All right, it's time. Let's make our predictions on Friday. The Michelin Pilot Challenge Series, the Fox Factory 120 season finale there for the Grand Sport and TCR cars. I'm super excited for this race. I love the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series. I think this race is going to be an absolute banger. And with that being said, in Grand Sport, I'm going to take the number 57 Windward Mercedes with Ellis and Ward. They're just unstoppable this year. They maybe not have the wins to show for it, but they're in contention. It seems like in every single race. I think they play the strategy for perfection this year, and I think they get the win in the final race of the season here in Grand Sport. And my dark horse, I'm going to go with the number 13 McCumbee. I have no idea why. I just feel like that's a good pick for the dark horse this weekend. And then when it comes to TCR, I'm going with the number 33 Hyundai with Gottsacker as well as Robert Wickens. I'm just a huge fan of this team. Every time that Wickens is behind the wheel, I just want to see that team succeed and win. I think they can do it this weekend. I legitimately think they're going to go out on top of this 24 season with a victory, and I think it's going to be a dominant performance, dominant fashion. I think the TCR field's going to be an interesting shakeup, and I'm super excited for it. When it comes to my dark horse, I'm going to go with the number 52 Audi. Have had hit and miss results this year. Here this weekend at Petit Le Mans. Maybe they can pull something together on Friday and get the job done. I'm excited to see this race and see how it plays out, but I'm going to take them as my dark horse. All right. On Saturday, the Xfinity Series, the Drive for the Cure 250. Oh, I kind of precursored it a little bit with the playoff predictions, but if I was to put money on anybody or had to be forced into making a pick, I'm going with SVG this weekend. I think SVG not only wins this race, I think he wins one of the 2 stages. Obviously, with the way the strategy works, I don't think it's possible to win all stages and the race. But I think he'll win one of the stages, and I think he will also win this race. I think he's going to be absolutely flying with a chip on his shoulder. If I'm Allgaier, who's right in front of him in points, I'm nervous. If I'm AJ Allmendinger, which we know how his track record at the Roval, he owns the Roval, I'd still be nervous. I still think there's a possibility that SVG and Allmendinger both get into the round of 8 with colleague here. But I think SVG does it purely off a win. Allgaier's, I think he's going to have to do it off of points, and I think he's going to be in the top 5 by the end of this race anyway. We know how good he is at the Roval. He's going to be a contender. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm going to take SVG this weekend and punch that ticket into the round of 8. And then at that point, will it be enough playoff points banked up to have a mulligan race at Homestead or Vegas or even at Martinsville? Can he get enough points scored through there to advance himself to the round of 4 with how good Custer, Chandler, Austin Hill, if Allgaier advances, can Allgaier put up a fight? I think that Allgaier could definitely find himself into the round of 4 as well. And then Creed, I think, is your big dark horse there, not having a win this season, but I still think he could make it to that round of 4. So SVG, Can he do it? Can he advance? I think he does. I think he gets the job done this weekend. My dark horse, excuse me, I'm going with Sage Karam. Purely because every time this guy steps into behind the wheel of an Xfinity car at any type of road course, he always puts on a show. You look up at the end of the race, and there he is in the top 10. I mean, it's so much fun to watch. How good he's adapted to these stock cars. I think he does that this weekend. I think he's going to be a contender at the end of this race. I think you're going to look up at the end of it. He's going to be in the top 10, battling up in the front. He's not going to have a race winning car, obviously, with SS Greenlight, but I think he did a solid top 10 finish in this race, and I'm excited to see what he could do. Uh, he just always finds a way to put himself in position at the end of his races for a solid top 10. I think he does it yet again this weekend. Um, Next, IMSA series, the championship finale, Motu Petit Le Mans. Oh, the qualifying race for the 24-hour Le Mans, the season finale for IMSA. We're going to be crowning 4 separate champions with GTP, LMP2, GTD Pro, and GTD this weekend. I'm super excited to watch this race after the absolute thrilling, exciting race we saw last year with Action Express, as well as the number 10 Cadillac or Acura. Absolute banger of a race. If you go back on our channel, we have some clips and some shorts and whatnot from that race last year with our watch party. That was so much fun. And we're doing it again. We're running it back this weekend. I'll be here for the watch party. I believe we'll start somewhere around 6 p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to do the last 4 hours of that race. So come join us. I've got it scheduled on the channel now. Come watch and enjoy that race. It won the watch party poll, and I'm super excited that you guys voted for it. We want to run it back like we did last year. And what a championship battle we are going to witness between the two Team Penske Porsches. Unbelievable. The number 6, the number 7. It's going to be an absolute dogfight, an absolute banger. Do we see? I'm hoping that they let them take the gloves off and let them duke it out for this championship. I hope we have no team favorites here. Excuse me. I would love to see these guys battle it out for the win. And with that being said, I think it's going to take winning this race to win the championship. I really do. I think that those two Penske Porsches are going to be at the front all day long. I think they're both going to qualify up front, and I think they're going to be battling for this win. Late into that 10-hour race, I think you're going to see both those Porsche Penske's on the final stint of the race. After the final pit stop, they're going to be 1-2, battling through traffic as the sun sets on Road Atlanta. I am super excited to see this race. What a great venue, great racetrack, and a great landscape in the points going into this final race. But with that being said, not only is this team going to win the championship, they're going to win the race. I'm going with the number 7 Penske Porsche. I'm a huge Matty Campbell fan. I think his time is here. They brought Dane Cameron into this number 7 machine this weekend. I think that's going to be a great combo. I like their odds better than having a Nick Tandy in the wheel behind the 6. I think that is going to be their Achilles heel this weekend. Even though they got Estrella behind the wheel, I think Estrella is going to do a fantastic job in that 6. I think they're both going to have an amazing race. I think each one of them is going to dominate a certain section of this race, whether it be early, the middle section, or the late section. I think they're both of them are going to have their time at the front dominating. I also think that the 01 Cadillac, and I also think the Action Express Cadillac, I think they're also going to put up a fight. Interested to see what the Acuras do. I don't think BMW is going to be a factor. I still think it's going to be between those Porsches, and it's going to be an absolute dogfight to the end. And I don't think we're going to know who that champion is until they literally cross that start-finish line. I think it's going to be that freaking thrilling of a race. Can't miss, must-watch TV this weekend at Motul Petit Le Mans. And I think that number 7 Porsche is going to be the one to take the crown and the race victory this weekend. And then for my dark horse, I'm sticking with it. It was my bold prediction in the offseason. Maybe a way too optimistic considering it's their first year in IMSA, the first year with this LMDH package. But I'm going to go with the 63 Lambo with Romain Grosjean behind the wheel as well. If they're going to win a race, or if my bold prediction is going to come true, this is the last chance. This is it. This is it for 2024. Can I get another bold prediction correct? I don't know. We're going to throw them on there just for hopes and wishes, I guess. When it comes to LMP2, I'm going with the number 18 Era machine with Connor Zilch behind the wheel. I think that they get redemption. He's won it at Daytona earlier this year. They won at Sebring. This is like, they didn't get the job done at Indianapolis. They had that issue. But the 4th Crown Jewel of the season, Petit Le Mans, I think they're going to get 3 for 4 this year. And it's Connor Zilch is going to put on an absolute display when he's behind the wheel. He's going to build a gap, and he's going to get the job done. And then when it comes to dark horse, I'm going to go with the number 99 AO Racing LMP2. I don't know why, really. They really haven't had that good of luck recently. Maybe they could turn around this weekend and get a solid podium finish. So that's why I'm going to throw them in there. Kind of some hopes and wishes, like I said, with the Lamborghini here. And then when it comes to GTD Pro, I'm going to go with the number 1 BMW. This team, First year running the pro class. They won the GTD championship last year. They moved up to pro with Sellers and Snow. I think they go out on top with a win this weekend. They have absolutely turned it up at the end of the season. I think they finally figured out this car. I think they finally figured out the GTD Pro class. Both drivers have gotten so much better throughout the season, and I think that they capped this 2024 season off opposite of how Daytona capped off, where they were right there competing for the win. Late race issues happened for them. They weren't able to get the job done. I think it's the opposite this week. I think maybe they're not competitive early, and I think they just show up at the end and they absolutely take control of this race late. I'm going with the number one BMW this weekend. My dark horse, going with the 65 Ford Multimatic, like I have all season long. Joey Ham behind the wheel. I think that they're going to get the job done for a solid podium finish. This Ford has absolutely shown a lot of pace as of late. I think they're finally figuring it out, even though they had to be so weird and so different. I think they're finally figuring it out, and I think that they're going to get a solid podium finish to cap off this year with Joey Ham behind the wheel. When it comes to GTD, like I said with Grand Sport in the Pilot Challenge race, that 57 Windward team with their GT4 program is really good. With their GT3 program, they're really good, and I think they're going to cap off the season with a win, just like they did Daytona. They won Daytona. I think they're going to bookend the season with a Petit Le Mans win. And then my dark horse, I'm going to stick with it. They've been my favorite most of the season because I love this team. I love the story. The spotter, Thompson behind the wheel. But their season has absolutely taken a hit. I think it really started after they had a great qualifying run at Daytona. Then they had that incident late in that race at Daytona, and ever since then they've just been fighting an uphill battle. I remember that race at Long Beach where it really looked like they had a car to win, and then the issues they had. I think that they can get a solid result this weekend. And I mean, this Lexus is just so underperformed, so under advantaged at this point of the season. But this is petite, man. Anything can happen at Road Atlanta. I'm gonna take the Vassie Sullivan team, number 12, to be my dark horse, and I'm just doing that again. Like I said with the Lambo, as like I said with AO Racing, I'm doing this out of good faith, hopes, and wishes, and I would love to see them get a good performance to cap off this 2024 season for that Vassie Sullivan team. Alrighty. When it comes to the Cup Series, the Bank of America Roval 400 this weekend, I'm going maybe Homer route here. But this guy is absolutely unbelievable at the Roval. I think he's finished second there like twice, maybe three times. Finished multiple top fives here. This team, I believe, is going to go to the championship four. I'm already bookending it now. I had him out in the round of one or the round of 16. This team has just been absolutely on fire in these playoffs. Scored stage points in basically every stage but one. I'm going with Alex Bowman this weekend. Underrated, underappreciated road racer. This Roval, I think it's just this race. I was hoping to get out of Talladega without any issues, and he did. And now he could go into the Roval going for a win. Doesn't have to race necessarily. Go for some stage points in one of the stages, but maybe not the second stage or vice versa. But really set yourself up for the end of this race to go for the win. I think Bowman is that driver, and I think that he's going to find that extra pace in that car when needed at the end of this race to put that thing in victory lane and punch his way automatically into the round of 8, regardless of points, get some more playoff points built up going into that final round of 8, where those tracks line up good for him. He's a former winner at Martinsville. He's a former winner at Vegas. And I think that they're going to show a lot of pace at Homestead as well. I think this round of 8 lines up really good for that 48 team. And I think they kick it all off their championship run here this weekend at the Roval. And then also for my dark horse, I'm going to go Todd Gillen. Again, like I said with the Lamborghini there at Petit, this is my bold prediction pick to win a race before the end of the season. And it hasn't happened yet. And I think this is the last chance. This is the last chance. I had him at Dega. It just didn't pan out with him at that penalty late. But I think this is his last chance. And I think that he's still going to get a solid top 10 finish. He doesn't have to race for points. It means that the stages, he could do whatever he wants to do to get the strategy, optimize the strategy, and I think he'll be a contender late in this race. Also, I'm going to shout out Christopher Bell. I think Christopher Bell is going to have a great run this weekend. I think he could potentially be a threat to win. SVG, Allmendinger, I think they're both going to be threats in this race. I think they'll definitely be top 10 cars. Neither of them have to race for points, and I think that's going to be an advantage to both of those drivers. Busher is another one I'd watch out for this weekend. I think he's going to be good. I don't know what to think about Reddick. I would say yes, but then also this season's been terrible for him in the playoffs at least. I don't know if he'll be able to rebound and be a contender, so we'll find that out this weekend. And like I said, if there's one guy outside that cut line right now that I think could go out and win this race, just throw all caution to the wind. Don't even race for stage points because it doesn't going to matter anyway. I would go Briscoe, 32 points out. If I was that team, I would be doing nothing but going for the race win strategy wise. I would not even worry about stage points, not even one bit. Legit, I would go caution to the wind, full send on that deal. So watch out for maybe Briscoe this weekend. Alrighty. Last little bit here. Let's do the NASCAR fantasy. So for this weekend, my 5 driver lineup, I'm gonna go Alex Bowman because I think he's gonna win this race. I'm gonna throw Reddick in there because I believe that he's gonna prove me wrong and finally turn these playoffs around into where the championship contender we thought and knew he could be this year. Christopher Bell, like I said, I think he's gonna be a contender. And then obviously SVG and Allmendinger, I think they're both gonna be in the top 5. So I'm really confident about that lineup right there. The only one maybe iffy about is Tyler Reddick. Can they turn around their playoffs this race? We'll find that out this Sunday. Um, Matchups. We got Briscoe and Cindric. Like I said, if I'm these drivers this weekend, I'm not racing for stage points. I'm racing for the race win. I'm doing the complete opposite of any strategy you would do for points getting. I would do the one for the race win with those stage cautions. So I'm going to, out of the two, I'm going to take Briscoe over Cindric this weekend for that exact reason. And then when it comes to the next matchup, I got Logano versus Suarez. I'm going to go Logano just purely because I think Logano could advance out of this round. I still think if he can advance this round, I think he's going to make the championship 4. It's an even number year. We know what Logano does. Suarez absolutely shot a shot at Talladega, and it completely flopped and spun around multiple times. I think it's over for Suarez. So I'm going to take Logano over Suarez this weekend. And then we have Reddick versus Elliott. This is interesting because these are the two guys 1 point separating them on the cut line. 7th and 8th in points. I think Reddick's gonna have a way better day than Elliott. I think Elliott has just not shown to be a championship contender really, and not all year. I mean, he had a good points finish, yes, but it's just he never really seemed to be in contention to win races. And I think at this point of the year, you got to start being in contention to win races, and that means finishing in the stage points every stage, and then having a good top 10 result at the end of the day. And then when you get to round 8, then you got to turn them into winning stages, top 5s every race. And I just don't think Elliott's that team this year. Reddick, like I said, he has been. And it's been crazy the terrible playoffs he's had, but I think they really do turn it around this week at the Roval. I think this is exactly what the doctor ordered, and I think Reddick's going to have a better result than Elliott this weekend. And then the next one, it's Bell versus Bowman. This is a good matchup. I think both these guys are going to be contenders to win this race. I think both these guys right now are primed and tuned to make that championship 4. I think that when it's all said and done, though, I did pick Bowman to win this race, and I'm really confident about that. So I'm going to go Bowman over Bell this weekend on my fantasy lineup. Alrighty. That's basically all I've got here this weekend. Interesting weekend of racing at Talladega. All the drama with the DVP, the big wrecks, the controversy with the pushes with the Bowman into Blaney, and then the BK into Cindric. Hopefully I gave you some type of opinion. The lawsuit 2311 front row. See what happens coming out of that. Great season by ARCA. Want to shout them out. What an awesome season. I'm excited for Daytona here in a few short months to kick that season back off next year. See the new championship contenders are going into 2024 for the ARCA series. And then cutoff races this weekend for the Cup Series and Xfinity Series for the round of 12 respectively. Interesting to see who can get the jobs done there. Who's going to surprise us all, or who's going to shock us by making it or not making it in those playoff hunts, as well as this absolute banger, thrilling watch party we're going to have for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championships season finale at Petit Le Mans Road Atlanta. Super excited for that. Absolute nail-biting finish. I guarantee it. It's going to be a thrilling championship battle between the two Porsche Penske's. I am super excited to have that watch party and enjoy that race with you guys, get my live reaction live here on YouTube, as it's going to be an absolute thriller to the absolute end. I'm calling it now. You guys are not going to want to miss it. Make sure you guys tune in. Even if you only catch the last few hours after the Xfinity Series race, come join it with us here on the Dega Boys YouTube channel and experience an amazing championship finale like we did last year. I'm saying it again. It's going to be just like last year. It's going to be an absolute thriller to the end. I'm super excited for that race this weekend. Make sure you guys go follow us on all of our social medias. We got X, Patreon, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Kick. We're streaming right now on Kick as well. So make sure to go give us a follow over there to stay up to date and tuned in with everything happening on the Stega Boys YouTube channel. We'll have another podcast next week where we'll talk about the races of this upcoming weekend with the Charlotte Roval as well as Petit Le Mans weekend. I'm super excited to talk about those races with you guys. I'm excited for more races, man. We're getting to the end of the season. All these championship battles being decided. We had IndyCar getting decided. Now we're getting deep into the NASCAR playoffs. So we got the IMSA Championship this weekend, and then F1 is going to kick back off here with their North America swing here next week. So I'm so excited to see how that championship progresses with the races at Brazil, races at Mexico, Coda, as well as Vegas, and then go back into the Middle East for Saudi Arabia and be interesting. See how the or not Saudi Arabia with Bahrain or not Bahrain. I'm blanking so bad. Abu Dhabi. That's where I was going with it. Here at the end of the season. So I'm super excited to see how these championship battles all shape out. But also make sure to go follow us on our Discord. The link is in the description below. Stay up to date with all the news, happenings, rumors, memes, drama, whatever it may be in the motorsports world. We'll keep you guys up to date with everything happening there. You guys do not want to miss out on the Discord and interact with other like-minded race fans such as yourself. Such a fun place. Even post your own news, your own rumors, your own memes, your own drama. We love to see it when other people add their own content, little piece of their little comedy or humor or news or whatever they do on our Discord. It's always awesome to read what you guys have to share. So make sure you guys go follow us there. Also, go check out our merch store. Go buy some Digga Boy swag. Get you some Big Daddy IMSA, Big Daddy NASCAR stuff. Get some Big Daddy IMSA stuff for the championship race. Put it on. Go show it off out in the community before you go home and watch the race on Saturday night. Or all day Saturday, like I'll be doing the whole 10 hours. I'll be grinding through that whole thing. Probably have the Xfinity race on the background while I'm watching the whole 10-hour race there. PT. I'm super excited. I love IMSA racing, and I'm super excited to see this championship battle. And if it's anything like last year, which I know it's going to be, trust me, take my word for it, it's going to be an absolute banger and thriller, and I can't wait for that watch party. I'm so jittery thinking about it right now. I believe that's it. I believe that's it for tonight. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, bearing with me here. We talked about a little bit of racing action, and I cannot wait to see what happens this weekend. Make sure you guys have a good night. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all in the next one.